afternoon. Yeah, that you knew. Harris is drinking, and yes, I'm thinking, and I'm plotting and scheming. Your line of work, you deal with the facts, with the evidence, with the hard hitting, um, things that really went on. Was this a mechanical error? I mean, is this because it was built to never sink and everything? Um, you know, go into some of that.
What you're saying is very true. Titanic was built with the most up-to-date specifications. Some of the facts are, and I'm going to hold up my little visual aid here. A teacher that I spoke in her classroom one time had this built for me, and I think it's a little 3D print of the ship, and I thought that is so nice of her. Titanic had these little watertight compartments all the way the length of the ship. Now, if you're in the Navy now, they call them bulkheads, and they run all the way through the ship, all the way sealing off different sections. If you have ever visited a Navy vessel or a submarine, you have to hunker down and step through that tight doorway. They can close that doorway, circle it up, and seal that part of the ship off. Well, Titanic was made, the design was really a brilliant design. If the ship was hit, boom, straight on like this, it would fill the compartment in which it was hit, but it wouldn't flow over those little walls. I got a tickle tonight. They went up above the bulkhead. If it hits directly on the wall, it filled up 2 compartments.
Okay.
It still would stay afloat. The engineering of this ship was that 4 of the first 5 could even fill. And I'm going to try to put it near the bottom of my screen. It would be low in the water, but it still would not flow over into the 5th compartment. So the people would be fine. They would be saved. The ship would be taken. They would put it in a dry dock, lift it up, fix those compartments. But when Titanic hits the iceberg, now I'm going to try to do this visually. It's coming toward the iceberg and it just barely glazes it and bounces off. Boom. Doesn't rip a hole down the side like was predicted. All it does is scrapes the top off of rivets so that water sprays in very fine, very, just a little solid spray. If the hole was in one place, it would be about the size of your refrigerator door. It was not that big. Your refrigerator doors, they've had worse than that. The key to it, though, was it was in the first 5 compartments, and the ship was designed to float if 4 of them were hit. So the pumps could not overtake the water. And what happened was, as the ship begins to sink below the waterline because of the 5 openings, it sank lower than it's supposed to. So the water spills over into the next one. As that fills up, it spills over into the next one, and it cascades through this way. So forensically, it was an incredible, you wouldn't expect it to take 5 compartments out. It did. They were going more southerly than they normally do. So you don't expect icebergs to have been that low in April. And it just so happened that there was at least 1 pack that they came upon that had this big iceberg on it. When you hold a ship's wheel, you've got spokes sticking out like this. If they would have done this 1 time on that trip, they would have missed it by miles.
Wow.
Okay. Mm-hmm. This was one of those, it happened. Nobody did anything that was improper. Nobody did anything. Could they have done things differently? Of course, but nobody knew to do anything differently. By the time they realized there was an iceberg in front of them, they tried to avoid it.
Was it dark and like foggy? Was it weather conditions? It was
clear as a bell, and that's what the problem was. Because it was clear as a bell, you take this iceberg and the water splashes up on it. And what you can see is the white water, the white caps of the splashing. And that's what makes it so easy to see. But when the sea was calm, it wasn't splashing. it would be like on a lake, for example, on a non-windy night, and you have to be very careful. And, something that's almost 3 football fields long, there it is. We're talking almost 900 feet long, won't turn on a dime. And they immediately ordered to turn left to try to go around the iceberg. They wanted to go around it. But this ship was slow to respond because it's so huge. You can't just turn on a dime in that thing. And it was starting to turn as it got close, and it just lightly scraped. It was
so like
fluke is a good word for it, I guess. It was just an incredible amount of bad luck.
With the design of the ship, like the engineers, they made it to where it's supposed to, withstand, this flood of waters, these different compartments, and then but some little old, rivets across the top, just kind of, what was there?
Scrape the top off is all it did. Just scrape the top off.
Was this like something, like when they're building things and they're putting cars through crash tests and they're going over every possible scenario? Like for the time, was it just kind of back then nobody, was thinking crazily outside the box? Like, hey, what if, one of these rivets get loose? Can it water fill up another way?
Harry's drinking again.